Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Moon Apogee Astrology. I'm your host, Shanna Cross. And so today we are going to be talking about the lunar eclipse, the partial lunar eclipse happening in Taurus. It's the final eclipse that's happening in Taurus for the next 9 years, 9-ish years anyway. And so being a partial lunar eclipse, this one is actually a lot better than the previous solar eclipse that we had. This lunar eclipse happens to be with Jupiter. The moon is exalted in Taurus, right? So this is not a bad moon at all. The only thing that I can say is that Mars is opposing Jupiter at the time of this eclipse by degree. Mercury is about to oppose Jupiter. So with all these oppositions, and including Venus opposing Neptune from Virgo and Pisces, it's going to be kind of with mostly oppositions, there's usually a me versus them or an us versus them kind of energy where you're at odds with someone else. And so this can be a fulfillment, a completion, a finalization, and a reevaluation of maybe even partnerships, right? Still, just because it is Venus, or it is a Venus-ruled sign that this is full moon is happening in. But there could be, instances of fulfillment and completion and letting go of a resource. This is Taurus. Taurus has to do with physical, tangible things in our lives, whether or not that's, dwelling places, people, places, things, all of that. Money is also a big one with Taurus. It's your money and your possessions and things like that as well. With Taurus, it's the real, it's the tangible, it's things that you can hold in your hands. And with the Sun, Mercury, and Mars in Scorpio, there could definitely be power struggles. This is definitely a thing here, especially with Mercury and Mars together. There could be biting words. There could be, issues of power and control or power struggles with someone in a position of authority, because the Sun is also authority. And so there could be a need, a want, and a desire for safety, security, benevolence, all of those things, because Jupiter is expanding on this. And Jupiter is also expanding on the opposition, right? With the opposition to Mercury and Mars. So emotionally, we could be feeling a little bit more righteous, a little bit more grounded in that righteousness, right? With Jupiter involved. And then with Uranus there as well, I mean, it's kind of, it's still there and it's still present and it's still mucking things up and kind of causing all kinds of disruptions and changes and things like that. But it's also, it's that lightning strike. So this one can be a little bit better than the previous one because of the T-square with Pluto with the last one. Venus now, instead of opposing Saturn, is now opposing Neptune. So maybe there could be some themes around, there could be themes around health, around maybe indulgence and things like that. With Venus, in the sign of Virgo, it could even be, food related, things like that as well. But this full moon specifically, I kind of like it. The Sun and the South Node are in trine with Saturn, so that means that there could be an easier way of letting go of things. The fact that there is a trine between the Sun and Saturn tells me that in the water house, right, with Scorpio and Pisces, tells me that this can be deeply emotional, and so we can be feeling a little bit more on edge because of some type of limitation or delay, but it's also a deeply emotional fortitude kind of energy where, okay, it hurts, but we're feeling our feelings anyway kind of energy. And then with Venus in moving towards that exact trine with Uranus and in the grounded signs, earth signs, this is, again, receptive energy, just like the water signs are receptive energy. So there's some nice energy going on here for this full moon that I'm not opposed to, for sure. And with Venus and Uranus in trine, there could be changes going on in terms of food, health, farming, all of these things can be associated with this, but this is very dynamic changes. There could be monetary changes. Depending on how this is hitting your chart, there could be different things going on too. But this one is a little bit nicer. So so for Aries and for Aries rising, getting into all 12 signs, this full moon is happening in your second house of finances, of money, of how you make money, of your resources. There could definitely be a benefic influence coming in, a finalization and a completion. If you've been having money issues, there could definitely be some things going on here where, you know, it's my money versus their money. My money versus the money coming in from an outside source, whether or not that's through loans or there's debts or taxes or even inheritance and things like that, could also be a thing. So with this full moon, there is definitely associations with kind of that opposition of, okay, well, my finances are this, your finances are this. How are we going to deal with this kind of energy? So with this final eclipse here, you know, the eclipses are now going to be moving on. There's something that's being finalized and put to bed. And with Jupiter here, this is a benefic influence, so this can help to mitigate some of that. Mars is in the sign of Scorpio. This is your chart ruler. And so Mars does really well in the 8th house. So there can be a lot of clarity around joint finances and money coming in from an outside source, or there can be situations and things like that where you understand, and there's, you know, with the sun here, there's light being put on the 8th house portion of your chart. And so with Mercury and Mars here, there's an understanding of, okay, well, this is what we need to do now. Mercury and Mars is pulling away from the sun. So even though it's, you know, 5 and 6 degrees, they're not visible yet. So there could be secrets, or there could be things that have yet to be revealed about joint finances, but the focus is here right now. And so with the full moon, it's like, okay, realizing what needs to be done, what worked, what didn't, and how you move on from there. And with Jupiter here, this is a benefic influence. So there could definitely be some positive things that come out of this, for sure, for Aries rising when it comes to finances, how you make money, and what's going on with your partnerships as well. So that could definitely be a thing. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, the spotlight's on you with this full moon, Taurus. So what's going on here is that this final eclipse that's happening in your first house, you know, Jupiter and Uranus are still going to be there. Jupiter's going to be there until next spring. And, you know, this final eclipse that's happening is only a partial lunar. So it's finishing, finalizing, putting to bed, analyzing what worked, what didn't, and where you can move on from here. Obviously, the nodes have moved on as well. So there's this sense of, okay, well, even though the changes aren't complete yet with that Uranus still there in the first house, there is this sense of, okay, emotionally, you could be feeling a little bit more emotional, but there's almost an elation or a happiness that's involved with it. With the Sun, Mercury, and Mars all in your 7th house, there could be, you know, there could be opposition between you and a partner or a partnership of some kind, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. This could be negotiating a contract and using what worked and what didn't in previous contracts, right? Moving forward. So that could definitely be a thing for you. And with Saturn, you know, is in trine with the sun. So this is happening in your 7th and in your 11th house. And so this could be, you know, your friendships, the ride or die friends are going to be there. The fair weather friends are going to be kind of moving on out with Saturn transiting here at the 11th house. So this Saturn in trine with the sun, or the sun in trine with Saturn from the 7th to the 11th, could mean that there's positive things going on in terms of your friends groups, your group associations, the people you associate with by choice. And then with Venus coming into that really nice trine with Uranus in your first house from your 5th, this could definitely be good for romance, children, you know, partnerships to do with like boyfriend, girlfriend kind of energy, your hobbies, the things you love to do just because you love to do them, and could be taking things outside the box and just deciding that you're gonna either have a staycation or you're gonna be doing something that you want to do just because you want to do it, and it's going to be a little bit more positive. Even though there is this full moon, the moon is exalted in Taurus, it's exalted in your sign, so this could benefit you in the long run in terms of the things that you're finalizing, completing, and putting to bed. So that is what I have for Taurus. And then for Gemini and Gemini rising, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. So this is a partial eclipse. This is the last eclipse in your 12th house. So any tumultuousness here that has happened between your work, your daily routines, what you're doing every single day, and the rest and the reprieve that you really want to have, this could be a finalization and a reevaluation. And it's the final one. With Jupiter here, there is benefic energy. There is a benefic influence here, and so the rest and reprieve that you need and want and desire to take could definitely benefit you. And there's a need to balance your rest and your work, right? So with full moons, there's definitely something that needs to come into balance, because where the sun goes, our attention follows. And when we have full moons, it's illuminating that opposition point, right? So it's illuminating where you need rest, where you need reprieve, what you need to do. And so with the Uranus in trine with Venus from the 12th to the 4th house, this could mean that there's some type of rest or some type of staycation maybe that needs to happen in terms of what you're doing and who you're with on the home front and what you bring home, right? Because Venus is in an earthy sign and it does have to do with physical, tangible things. And so there could be some things here that are coming home for you. The other thing that we have is we have the sun in the 6th house lighting up your work sector, trine with Saturn in the 10th house. And so your career, your public standing, your public reputation with Saturn here might feel limited and might feel restricted, and it's not a great thing to have Saturn in Pisces for Geminis, just because it's restricting your ability to kind of do your thing in that 10th house. But with the sun in trine here, this could be, the sun and Saturn, this could be like a beneficial energy in terms of like a boss or a coworker or something like that, and really working through what's going on with your career and your public standing. This could even be subordinates if you have any. With Mars and Mercury here, there could be kind of heated arguments or discussions, right? And with this opposition, especially with Jupiter, it might get heated, but it's benefic in a way, which, because there are trines to the sun, there's a trine to Uranus and all of that. So I don't see this as a bad thing. I see this as more of having to come back into balance with your work and your daily routines and the rest and reprieve that you need. So that is a thing. And then, like I said, that Saturn up in the 10th house, that feeling of being restricted, there's something that can come to light, and there's something that can be beneficial in terms of your daily work and daily routines, or even a coworker or a colleague can help out with that. There can be something that can be done there. That's what I have for Taurus. And then for Cancer and Cancer rising, this full moon is happening in your 11th house. And so with full moons, this is about bringing back into balance, what's going on in terms of your fun, your play, your joy, and your group associations, the people that you associate with, and, your networking with other people. And so there could be something going on here that's maybe a little bit discordant with your networks and your passion, but with it being an opposition, there can be balance that is had. With this being the final lunar eclipse in Taurus for the next 9 years, this could be putting something to bed for the final time in terms of this 11th and 5th house access for you with your friends and with your passion. And this can be really good evaluating what went good, what went bad, and evaluating where you move on from here. With Jupiter here and the fact that the moon is exalted in Taurus, this is a really benefic energy and a beneficial energy in terms of your network, who you're surrounding yourself with by choice. There could be a benefic influence that's coming in, or a benefactor of some kind. With Uranus and Venus in trine, or moving towards that trine, with this could definitely be a beneficial energy in terms of that very grounded, very practical, very real world communication or a shocking communication coming through a friend, but it's a positive one, right? Because it is in trine with Uranus here, and with the sun in trine with Saturn, maybe there's something in your viewpoints, in your worldview, in your education, or in your belief system that has been restricted, and you're feeling restricted, and kind of reevaluating what it is that is going on with your beliefs and your belief of, you know, God, the universe, the world around you, higher education, things like that, or even travel. And with the sun here in trine with Saturn at the same time this full moon is happening, this could be a beneficial energy of taking a passion and using it to either educate or to learn, right? Or a hobby or something like that. And you're learning how to connect with other people based on that hobby, based on that thing that you love to do just because you love to do it. And it's very grounded, very practical, and it could be very long lasting, right? If you seize hold of the opportunities. That is what I have for Cancer and Cancer rising. For Leo and for Leo rising, this full moon is happening in your 10th house. So the focus has been on the home, the family, the property, with the sun transiting here, with Mars and Mercury here as well. There could be arguments, disputes, tempers flaring, things like that. There could be even money being spent on the home front, or, you know, something being cut away when it comes to the home. Mars does rule your home front as well. But there's something beneficial that's happening in terms of your career, your public reputation, and how it is that you're known out in the world. With this full moon happening in your 10th house, it's illuminating the changes that have been made and finalizing the changes that need to be made, what's worked, what hasn't, moving on from any kind of stuck stagnant energy. And it's a beneficial energy too, because it is here with Jupiter as well. So there is something that could even be lucrative with Venus in your second house ruling your 10th, right, in trine with Uranus. Something shocking, but something shocking that makes you money. That could be a thing here as well, or something that happens in terms of your career, an ending of some kind or a completion of some kind brings you a little bit more finances or helps with the finances that you have going on. You also have the sun in trine with Saturn at the same time this full moon is happening, and so there could definitely be some restrictions, delays, modifications that are being done to joint finances, or finances coming in through an outside source or through a contract of some kind. And with the sun here in trine, this, you know, this is your chart ruler, the sun, you know, is your focus is on your home, your family, your property, what you're doing behind the scenes. There could even be money spent on the home to fix the home or something like that, or you're purchasing a home through a loan or something like that. This could also mean that as well, with this full moon happening here. So there could be, if some of you are purchasing a home around this time, this could be the final offer that comes through. There are restrictions and delays and what have you, and even long-lasting kind of ramifications and effects with Saturn here in the 8th house, but it's in trine with the sun in the 4th. So I see this as a positive in terms of being able to understand, you know, the value of something, the value of home, the value that's coming in from an outside source, and all of that as well. But this could also be, you know, restrictions, delays, limitations to your partner's resources. And so there could be working with a partner through something, and it can be beneficial for your relationship. So that is what I have for Leo. For Virgo and for Virgo rising, this full moon is happening in your 9th house. And so this is illuminating your travel plans, your worldview, the, you know, the dogmatic belief system that you have about God, the universe, the world around you. And this full moon is illuminating, you know, that for you as well. The moon is exalted in Taurus. So there can be, with Jupiter here too, there can be a little bit of righteousness. But it's also, you know, this is the final time that there will be an eclipse here, and this is a partial eclipse. So this is finishing, finalizing, putting to bed, reevaluating what worked, what didn't, let go of what didn't work and moving on from that and using what did work and keeping that. So that is definitely a theme with this full moon. It's also a beneficial energy with Jupiter here. The moon is exalted, as I said, in Taurus, and with Jupiter here, there is that benefic influence. Venus is in a really nice trine at this time with Uranus from the 1st to the 9th. So there could definitely be some really great things that can happen in terms of conversations with people at a distance, or there could be things going on with, you know, understanding concepts and big picture ideas and things like that, and it's beneficial to you specifically because Venus is in your 1st house. And then with the Sun, Mercury, and Mars in the 3rd house, this is definitely, 3rd house is communication, so this could definitely be arguments, disputes, and things like that in terms of, you know, this is communication. So there could be intense communication around this time. Or even like a vehicle of some kind could have issues or something like that. With the Sun in trine with Saturn, this is definitely good for conversations in relationship, very grounded, very tangible, very real conversations, because it's Saturn, right? Saturn is very tangible. It's limitations, boundaries, and delays and things like that. So there could be conversations with a partner that are going on in terms of like long-lasting commitment, partnerships, or what's the word I'm looking for here? Contracts and agreements, right? So long-lasting partnerships and contracts and agreements and things like that. Yeah, so there is that for Virgo. And then for Libra and for Libra rising, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. So there's been some things over the last couple of years, Libra, that have been going on that have been causing kind of distress and kind of that trauma response in you in terms of joint finances, joint resources, other people's money, debt, taxes, inheritance, debt like loans, credit card debt, things like that, taxes coming in, right? Things like this. And so with this partial lunar eclipse, this could definitely be things that are happening in terms of finalization, reevaluation, putting to bed for a final time. With Jupiter here, this is a benefic influence. This is a benefic influence and a beneficial energy. So there could definitely be some kind of wild out of the box swings in terms of your finances and another person's finances. With the Sun, Mercury, and Mars all here in the 2nd house, this could definitely be, you know, finances. This could be arguments and disputes around finances at this time with the opposition here, but it's also moving towards, you know, balancing out your finances and another person's finances. Saturn is in trine with the Sun in the 2nd and in the 6th house. So while you maybe have been having some issues at work with employees or anything like that, or just in general with your daily life and feeling restricted, like work is work right now and it's hard work right now. But there's a reason, right? But with the Sun here illuminating your 2nd house, there could definitely be money, either money being spent or money coming in from, you know, your work or what you're doing. And with Venus, your chart ruler, in the 12th house, there's kind of something going on behind the scenes in terms of money, finances, other people's money, joint resources. This could be secret conversations or working with some type of debt collector, loan officer, something like that, for resources to come in behind the scenes. That could definitely be a thing here with Venus in trine with Uranus. So it's like a wild swing in terms of finances and what's going on behind the scenes, for sure. But it's a positive. I see it as a positive anyway, because it is a trine. That is what I have for Libra. And then for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this full moon is happening in your 7th house. So what's being illuminated here is your contracts, your agreements, your negotiations, your relationships, your one-to-ones, your business partners, and your spouse or your long-term committed partners, right? There's definitely a full moon here, and full moons can illuminate what's going on in terms of the balance or the rebalance that needs to happen. There's been, over the last couple of years, there have been eclipses here, so there's been rebalancing going on and kind of out of the box and out of the blue things that have happened. And so now is the final eclipse to reevaluate what went well, what didn't go well, what needs to be finalized and put to bed for a final time in terms of partnerships and agreements and contracts and negotiations and things like that. And this is a beneficial energy with Jupiter here, plus the moon is exalted in Taurus. So there's definitely positive things going on here. The other thing that's going on is the Sun, Mercury, and Mars are transiting your first house. So there's a lot of communication. You're communicating a lot. There could be arguments and disputes with Mars here. Mars is your first house ruler. It is your ruling planet of your chart. Traditionally it is. And so there could definitely be arguments and disputes. There could even be secrets because Mercury and Mars are not able to be seen yet because they are still really super close to the sun and they're not seen. So there could be conversations, arguments, disputes to do with contracts and agreements, right? But it's going to work out to your benefit because it is, the moon is exalted, this full moon is exalted, Jupiter is here expanding on that, and there could definitely be some positive things that are going on. Venus is also in your 11th house of your friends, networks, of people that you associate with by choice, of your social medias, Instagram, Facebook, YouTubes, things like that, in trine with Uranus. And so there could be some kind of crazy connections that happen in terms of your social status, the people you associate with by choice, and your contracts and agreements and your relationships with other people. And then with Saturn and the Sun in trine in the 5th house to the 1st house, this could definitely see in terms of what you're doing out in the world and how you want to shine specifically. The fun, the joy, the play, the extracurriculars that you want to do just because you want to do them, and kind of like escaping into fantasy and fantastical magical places is on hold right now, but you can take some of those and you can ground them down into reality with Saturn here. And with the Sun in trine, there could be a sense of seeing what fantastical dreams you can manifest for your career and your public reputation with this eclipse. So this isn't unnecessarily a bad eclipse for you. I like this eclipse in general, just because of the different trines that are going on, even though, it is kind of intense with Mercury and Mars opposing Jupiter. That can cause arguments and disputes and kind of dogmatic headbutting going on, right? I can see that with this, especially with that Taurus moon, very fixed, very grounded, very tangible energy. Stubborn, for sure. But it's beneficial in the long run. I see that. Okay, and Sagittarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 6th house of your work, of your daily routines, of your daily life, of what you're doing every single day, of what you're putting in your body, of what you're putting in your mind, of who you're being with, right? What you're doing every single day, your habits and your routines and your work, where you feel like you're slaving away for a better purpose. And so with Jupiter here, you could be very busy. With Uranus here, it's been kind of volatile. With the eclipses that have been happening here over the last couple of years, it's been kind of back and forth and crazy things that have happened and kind of transformed what's going on with your life and your daily routines. Even your like shadow side, right? That 12th house of self-sabotage and sabotaging the self and all of that. There's been a back and forth here, and this full moon is illuminating kind of the beneficial energy, or this is your chart ruler, right? So with Saturn is not your chart ruler. With Jupiter here, Jupiter and the moon is exalted in Taurus. And so this could be very good in terms of your daily routines and beneficial energy in terms of your work and what you're doing for your work. your work could be expanding based on the things that you've evaluated of what worked, what didn't work, what you need to do moving forward, what you need to let go of, and what you can bring with you into this next cycle, because the eclipses are going to be happening in your 11th and in your 5th house. So with the Sun, Mars, and Mercury here, there could be arguments and disputes that are happening behind the scenes. With the Sun in trine with Saturn, from the 12th to the 4th. This could be maybe your home life feels more like work than it needs to, and you're having to kind of have some conversations behind the scenes to do with what it is that you truly want to come home to long term in your life. That could definitely be a thing here. And then with Venus up there in your 10th house, you know, this work and your daily routines and your career and your public standing and public reputation, there's some really nice energy here because Venus does rule your 6th house. It is transiting your 10th. It is bringing those associations of being known for your work and known for what it is that you're doing every single day. And this is in trine with Uranus, so there could be even some wild things that go on in terms of a sudden rise or a sudden shift in what it is that you're doing for work, or your public reputation shifts, but it's a positive shift, right? It's a trine energy. It's a good energy. So that is what I have for Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this full moon is happening in your 5th house. So over the last couple of years, there have been kind of wild swings, reevaluations, letting go of any toxic friends or friendships or networks or people you associate with by choice, and moving more into what lights you up, what brings you joy, what you're passionate about, what it is that you love to do just because you love to do it. Or even the focal point has been on your children or your romantic partnerships, right? Like those boyfriend, girlfriend kind of energies, quick love affairs, or even just sexual partners in general. So with this full moon happening, this final full moon lunation, this final partial eclipse is happening in your 5th house. It's in trine with your ascendant. This is good for you and your self-expression and how you're expressing yourself. This could be beneficial for your children as well. With Jupiter here, this is a benefic energy. With the moon exalted in Taurus, this is a positive thing. What worked, what didn't work, what you need to let go of in terms of, maybe your child is getting ready to move out and go to college. Maybe your child is getting ready to get married or something like that. And so there's a need here to let go, but it's a benefic energy with Jupiter here. There's a need to let go of maybe who the child was and see them for who they are now. That could be a thing. With the Sun, Mars, and Mercury up there in the 11th house, there could be some arguments or disputes or things that maybe haven't come to light yet in terms of, naysayers or friends that maybe are being nasty or something like that. Or there could be arguments or disputes with friends or on social media with your social network and things like that because of something that you love to do and you're being public about it maybe. That could definitely be a thing here. With Saturn in the 3rd house, communication could feel limited for you, or you could even be speaking to deep emotions as well with Saturn here in Pisces in your 3rd house. With the trine to the Sun in the 11th house, this could definitely see great communication in terms of with a group or a network, or very I would say talk therapy could be a thing here, or a network of people that are very pointed and very direct and talking about, the deep well of feelings that are going on here. Saturn is your chart ruler and it's in the 3rd house of Pisces. So speaking very groundedly, very practically, and with authority on deep emotional topics. This could even be causes around humanitarian pursuits of seeing something maybe that where a group of people are being unduly subjected to harsh criticism or something like that, and you're championing for them to kind of get out of that, right? And then with Venus in trine with Uranus from the 5th to the 9th house, this could be really good for travel. This could be really good for, yeah, I would definitely say travel, for education. Taking something that you're truly passionate about and learning how to do it the proper way could definitely be a thing, especially with Venus in Virgo. This could definitely be something very, very interesting, very long lasting that you're moving ahead with, and taking a hobby and learning about it and really honing in on it to give it that structure and that form to be able to maybe take it to the next level and take it to a career that you want to be involved in. I'm tripping over my words today. Okay, so whoops. Let's not skip Aquarius. So for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 4th house. So your 4th house is being illuminated. And so there have been eclipses that have been happening in your 4th and in your 10th house for the last couple of years. So what it is that you're known for, what it is, who you're known as, how you're known out in the world has been changing and has been, you know, you've been letting go of an old way of being and moving more into a new kind of persona out in the public world. And with this final lunar eclipse happening in your 4th house, the moon is exalted in Taurus. So there is kind of this sense of safety, security, this kind of benefic energy, especially with Jupiter here, of, you know, being safe, being secure in the home that you're in. Even though Uranus is here, still kind of causing disruptions and things like that, there's still a benefic energy and a benefic influence. With, you know, Venus is in trine in the 8th house. This could even be settling on if you've been looking to purchase a home, this could be beneficial energy for you. If you've been having issues on the home, or you need to fix something on the home that like crazily broke, or there's something going on there, you can, because Venus is in the 8th house. Venus does rule your 4th house. So getting a loan or getting money coming in from an outside source for your home, for your property, with this Jupiter energy here, this is beneficial for fixing things that are on the home front, and in very different and weird ways. They could even be the electrical things going on in the home. That could be a thing too with Uranus here. With Saturn in trine with the Sun from the 10th to the 2nd, your finances could have been, I've said this before, I'll keep saying it, that your finances could be restricted, or you could be very focused and very grounded, very practical ways of making money through some type of through your own volition, through your own self, and making your money, being very grounded, very frugal with your money that you're making. And with the trine with the Sun up there in the 10th house, this could be you know, taking your career to another level, being known as an authority out in the world as well. With Mars and Mercury here, this could definitely be arguments, disputes. This could be different kind of energies around maybe fighting for the top spot or something like that. Could also be a thing with this energy up here in the 10th house. But it's what you're known as and how you're making your money could be very grounded, very long lasting as well, with this trine to Saturn at the time of this lunar eclipse. So that is what I have for you, Aquarius. And then for Pisces, and for Pisces rising, this full moon energy is happening in your 3rd house. So this energy could be this finalization, reevaluation, putting to bed for a final time, and taking what works and discarding what doesn't is definitely going to be a predominant theme in terms of your communication, your communication style, your vehicles, your you know, the travel that you're doing in your community, your daily commute, things like that, as well as your text messages, emails, phone calls, communication style. Even there could even be some type of skill or some type of thing that is going on, or even if there have been arguments or disputes or things going on with siblings or extended family members, this could be the final time things are beneficial here, because the moon is exalted in Taurus, and with Jupiter here, this is a benefic influence as well. This is also your chart ruler. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter traditionally, so there's definitely very powerful communications. You yourself could be communicating very powerfully about an end of some kind that's happening. With Venus in your 7th house in trine with Uranus in your 3rd, this could definitely be communications or weird communications coming in through partnership or coming in through contract agreements and negotiations. But like I said, because this lunation is exalted in Taurus, there could definitely be, even with Venus being, you know, in detriment, she doesn't function as well in Virgo because it's very critical. If partners have been critical, you could definitely have conversations, or if you've been critical of a partner, there could be some wild conversations that happen that are putting that to bed for the final time. With the sun in trine with Saturn in your 1st house, this could definitely be illuminating the worldview that you have, or how you see God, the universe, and the world around you, your dogmatic belief systems. With Mars and Mercury here, this is a home sign for Mars, so Mars is at home, but with Mercury here, this could be arguments and disputes. This could even be arguments and disputes with partnerships at a distance, or maybe a partner is traveling or taking off somewhere to go somewhere, and there's an argument or a dispute about it that could have to do with you know, you yourself are upset with this, right, with that opposition with Jupiter. But with that trine to Saturn, you yourself could be feeling limited, or you yourself could be feeling like you're not able to engage with the world the way you want to engage with the world because of Saturn's presence here in your 1st house. You physically are being limited to either your home, or limited to you know, in your physical body in some way, shape, or form, and having to be very diligent, having to be very like regimented with what you're doing and how you're doing it. But with the sun and Saturn in trine, this could be seeing the big picture of how things can play out and using that to your abilities, using that to the fullest, and grounding it down into practicality and using it. That could definitely be a thing. So that is what I have for you, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.